From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. This is Dateline Malacañang. The Philippines Department of Foreign Affairs on Monday evening rebuked China for its provocative behavior at sea, including the enforcement of its domestic laws within the Philippines' maritime zones, an apparent swipe at Beijing's new Coast Guard rules. In a statement, the DFA called on China to show sincerity in working together to de-escalate the situation in the spirit of dialogue and the peaceful settlement of disputes. The latest DFA call was included in its lengthy statement welcoming the G7 leaders' recent rejection of China's dangerous use of Coast Guard in the South China Sea. It also came hours after the National Task Force for the West Philippine Sea confirmed that the People's Liberation Army, Navy, Chinese Coast Guard, and Chinese maritime militia vessels have engaged in dangerous maneuvers, this time involving ramming and towing during Manila's conduct of regular resupply mission to the BRP Sierra Madre in Ayungin Shoal on June 17th. Beijing's newly released law enforcement procedure for the Chinese Coast Guard, or CCG, took effect on June 15th, allowing its Coast Guard to board, inspect, and detain foreign vessels or individuals in waters that China considers under its jurisdiction for up to 60 days. To date, Beijing consistently asserts its claims over a huge swath of the South China Sea, including areas that fall within the Philippines' Exclusive Economic Zone, or EEZ. The DFA earlier warned that China would be in direct violation of international law should it enforce these new regulations in the waters within its illegal, null, and void 10-dash line in the South China Sea.
Dateline Malacañang.
In a related story, the United States condemned China's action on the incident that happened near the Ayungin Shoal on Monday involving a Chinese Coast Guard vessel and the resupply boat of the Philippines. In an ex-post, U.S. Ambassador to the Philippines, Mary Kay Carlson, said, "The aggressive and dangerous actions by China resulted bodily harm and damage to the Philippine ship." According to Ambassador Carlson, what China did was block the legal maritime operation that aims to deliver food, water, and important supplies to the troops that are clearly within the country's Exclusive Economic Zone, or EEZ. Ambassador Carlson again ensured that the United States is behind the Philippines to support a free and open Indo-Pacific region. Also on X, the ambassadors of France, Japan, the Netherlands, and the European Union expressed deep concern about the latest incident. French Ambassador Marie Fontanelle reiterated France's call for respect of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS, and freedom of navigation. Japanese Ambassador Kazuya Endo said, Japan stands with Manila and would cooperate with like-minded countries in maintaining and enhancing the free and open international order based on the rule of law. Dutch Ambassador Marielle Garrets said, "Irresponsible maneuvers that endanger the safety of ships and crews call into question the freedom of sea routes guaranteed under international law." EU Ambassador Luc Veron echoed the same concern and took note that China's activities have caused harm and damaged Filipino vessels within the Philippines Exclusive Economic Zone. Meanwhile, Department of National Defense or DND Secretary Gilbert Chodoro said, "It is clear to the international community that the actions perpetuated by China is an obstruction to the peace and stability in the West Philippine Sea." In a statement, Secretary Chodoro insisted that the Armed Forces of the Philippines or AFP is against the dangerous and unsafe actions of China in the West Philippine Sea. The Secretary persisted that the actions of China is against the Philippines' statement of good faith and decency. Secretary Chodoro emphasized that the DND and AFP will do everything to fulfill its mandate in protecting the country's territory, sovereignty, and rights.
Dateline Malacañang.
Still on the country's waters, the Philippine Coast Guard or PCG assured that they will do everything it can to protect Filipino fishermen sailing at Bajo de Masinloc. In a town hall meeting led by Senate Majority Leader Francis Tolentino along with fisherfolk in Masinloc, Zambales Province, PCG Commander Severino Desturas Jr. said, "The Coast Guard will continue its patrol at Bajo de Masinloc." Destura emphasized that no one is prohibiting Filipino fishermen to sail through Scarborough Shoal. The Coast Guard, however, advised fishermen to stay away or to not do steps to provoke the Chinese Coast Guard. The PCG also reminded fisherfolk in Masinloc to let them know if they will be sailing, provide complete details as to where they are going, how long will they sail, the number of fishermen, and what vessel they are using so that the Coast Guard can closely monitor their moves.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippines Department of Migrant Workers or DMW confirmed that one of the two overseas Filipino worker or OFW that was reported to be in critical condition following the fire that blazed their dormitory in Kuwait is now safe and recovering. DMW Secretary Hans Leo said, "One OFW was transferred to the ward station while the other one is still at the intensive care unit or ICU." Meanwhile, the DMW said the 6 other OFWs that survived the incident was transferred to a different building by their construction company. Kakdak ensured that the orphaned family of the 3 OFWs who died in the fire will receive financial, funeral, livelihood, and scholarship assistance. In the meantime, the remains of the 3 Filipino OFWs have left the Philippine Airport and Ground Services Incorporated Air Cargo and are on their way to their families. According to Overseas Workers Welfare Administration or OWA Administrator Arnel Ignacio, in accordance with the directives of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., the agency will shoulder all of the needs of the bereaved families, along with the Department of Migrant Workers, or DMW, Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, and even a number of lawmakers who extended their assistance, including House Speaker Martin Romualdez and Senator Raffy Tulfo. Ignacio said also included in the assistance are scholarships for their children so that they may continue their studies until they graduate college.
Dateline Malacañang.
In a related story, the 21 Filipino crew members of the MV Tudor arrived safely in the Philippines on Monday. The crew members left Bahrain, where they were ferried by a rescue United States Navy ship on Sunday. Labor Attaché Hector Cruz of the Migrant Workers Office, or MWO Alcobar, accompanied the sailors. One Filipino remained missing. Before boarding Gulf Air Flight GF-154, Philippine Ambassador to Bahrain and Halandoon, Luis, MWO Bahrain Officer in Charge Celia Cabadonga, and Welfare Officer Dr. Amelito Adel Cruz gave them a briefing and financial assistance of 192 Bahraini dinars, or about 30,000 pesos. At the Ninoy Aquino International Airport, or NAIA Terminal 3 in Pasay City, they were met by Migrant Workers Secretary Hans Leo and Health Secretary Ted Herbosa, and Tingog Party List Representative Jude Asidre, also the House Committee on Overseas Workers Affairs Chair. The seafarers will receive a total of 230,000 pesos each in immediate financial assistance from the Department of Migrant Workers, or DMW, House of Representatives Office of the Speaker, Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, or OWA, and the Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD. House Speaker Ferdinand Martin Romualdez and his wife, Tingog Party List Representative Yeda Marie Romualdez, will dip into their calamity funds for the 150,000 cash assistance they would contribute for each seafarer. In a statement, the Speaker said, "This assistance is a token of their gratitude for their courage and resilience during this harrowing ordeal." Reports said Houthi rebels rained drones and missiles on the Liberia-flagged vessel on June 12 near the Yemeni port of Hodeidah. The attack caused severe flooding and damage to the engine room. Meanwhile, Kakdak said the missing crew has to be found first before declaring anything. Kakdak said he accompanied the family of the missing seafarer to the ship owner's office in Manila on Friday to meet with officials. The Filipino captain of MV Tudor, Christian Domarique, thanked all those who were part of the rescue.
Dateline Malacañang.
In the meantime, even though no one was hurt and there were no injuries, the Philippines Department of Health, or DOH, will continue to assess the 21 Filipino crew members aboard MV Tudor. According to Health Secretary Ted Herbosa, he was able to talk to the seafarers and he believes they are experiencing post-traumatic stress. Secretary Herbosa said, this is what they are trying to ascertain while they are providing psychosocial support, because it is normal for a person to undergo a life-threatening situation, to experience the same crisis months after the incident. Herbosa said, as of now, the crew members are undergoing various checkups from the DOH, and they will be having checkups as well with their private insurance companies.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippines Bureau of Immigration, or BI, on Monday said a Filipino human trafficking victim returned to the country from Myanmar, where he was physically tortured, subjected to electric shocks, deprived of food, and forced into labor without any compensation. In a statement, the BI said the victim visited his sister in Macau, where he met a Filipino national through a Filipino community group on Facebook and was convinced to work in another country. It added that the victim, through the sponsorship of a Chinese company, flew to Bangkok and then rode a boat to Myanmar. The BI said the victim also disclosed that, half a year later, he was transferred to another company. Despite not enduring physical abuse, he was compelled to work for 16 hours every day. In his desperation to return to the Philippines, the BI said he assaulted a Chinese colleague and got expelled from the country. Thereafter, the BI said the Filipino victim traveled from Myanmar to Bangkok by boat, paying for the cost of travel himself. BI Commissioner Norman Tansinco reminded Filipinos to not entangle yourselves in illegal job offers abroad and avoid any shortcuts that might seem convenient but are fraught with danger. Tansinco added that promises of better opportunities can end up in nightmare of abuse, exploitation, and even death.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, we would like to invite everyone to come and visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel at Radio Pilipinas World Service. You will be able to hear and view our Filipino and English programs, including news updates here in the Philippines. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our posts as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radio Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.